Hello everyone, welcome to another Minute with Matt. I'm Matt with New Life Church, and we're going to continue our study of the book of Matthew and the Sermon on the Mount. Matthew chapter 5, starting with verse 33. Again you have heard that it was said to those of old, in other words, in the Old Testament, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oaths to the Lord. Yeah, if you promise something to God, you do it. Verse 34. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Nor shall you swear by your head, because you cannot make one hair white or black. But let your yes be yes, and your no, no. For whatever is more than these is from the evil one. It's an interesting fact to note. Everyone who swears on the Bible is disobeying the Bible. Think about that. And another thing to think about is, if you are under the impression that if you simply say, yes, I'll do something, but you didn't make any promise to that effect, you just said, yeah, that you're not bound by your word, you're wrong. You're wrong. You are supposed to be telling the truth. You're not supposed to lie. If you say yes, you'll do something, or yes, you did something, or you say no, I'm not going to do something, or no, I didn't do something, that you're giving your word every time you speak. Do not lie. Do not lie, do not lie. And don't make promises, because I can't make a promise. I can't promise I'll record the next Minute with Matt, because I don't think that I'm going to die. I'm not suffering from some particular disease that indicates I have a very short lifespan, but I don't know if I'll survive the day. So I can't promise to make another New Life, or a new Life video, but I can say I intend to, you know. And in the book of James it says, you should say, if the Lord wills, I'm going to do this and that and the other. You can state your intentions, but don't make promises, because you don't have the ability to make sure you can fulfill them. Now, when you have made a promise and you have the ability to fulfill it, you certainly do fulfill it, but you're better off to not make a promise. According to Jesus. If you don't think Jesus has the credentials to tell you what to do, then ignore what I just said. Then verse 38. You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. That is justice. But that actually was made to stop someone from excessively punishing someone. You know, someone did something small and gets killed for it or whatever. But either way, Jesus has more commentary to say in this New Testament, this era of grace. But I tell you not to resist an evil person, but whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn to him the other also. That's a tough thing to do. When I was in junior high, I used to get in fights all the time. And believe me, I never let anybody slap me or punch me without being punched back. If they ended up doing that, it was because I lost that particular fight. This is something else that doesn't make sense to the natural man. Verse 40, if anyone wants to sue you and take away your tunic, let him have your cloak also. We are not in the habit of letting people take anything from us, let alone giving them more than they're trying to steal from us or sue us for, or whatever the case may be. Verse 41, and whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. That's a really interesting thing, because under the Roman law, which was in effect during the time of this, a Roman soldier could force someone to go 1 mile. An example is during the crucifixion of Jesus. When Jesus fell under the cross that he was carrying it, they made someone else carry the cross. They made someone carry the cross. They compelled him to go with. And that's really what they would do. It wasn't that they wanted company, it's that they wanted someone to carry their stuff. You know. So under their law, they could make you go 1 mile. But this is saying, if they're compelling you to go 1 mile, you go another mile with them. Think about that. The people who did that, they were the Roman soldiers. And you're going to help them double what you're forced to. We're supposed to be willing to help someone. Verse 42, give to him who asks you, and from him who wants to borrow from you, do not turn away. That can be difficult for some people. Other people, it's easy for. But whether it's easy for you or hard for you, this is what the Lord said. Whether it's easy for me or hard for me, this is what the Lord said. I try to pattern my life after what Jesus told me. Not what I want, what he wants. You know, not my will, but your will be done. That's the way it's supposed to be with us. I don't always succeed in following what the Lord has said. I don't. But I try, and that's what I'm asking you to do, is to try to do what the Lord has said. And I'm going to finish up this chapter. Verse 43 says, you have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Verse 44, Jesus had something else, something different to say. But I say to you, love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. So do you have enemies? If you do, what does Jesus say? Does he say to hate them or to love them? Bless those who curse you. You ever been cussed out? Ever had anyone curse you? Do you want to say the Lord bless you? Or do you want to say same to you? Do good to those who hate you. Is that what you want to do when someone hates you? Do something good for them? Sure, you'll help them. Right over a cliff, you'll help them. That's not what the Lord wants. I mean, as I've said before, a lot of what the Lord asks of us does not make sense to the natural mind. And I continue. And pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. Okay, someone spitefully uses you and persecutes you. And he's not saying, Lord, send fire down from heaven to rain on them. No. It's praying for their good, for their welfare. Most importantly, for their salvation. That you may be the sons of your Father in heaven. You know, we want to be like the Lord. We want to be like God. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good. You may have noticed, if you watched this morning's sunrise, that the sun didn't just shine on the houses of the Christians, or of whatever you'd call good people. It shined on everybody. And sends rain on the just and on the unjust. You know, I've seen some movies or cartoon things where it only rained on one person. But that's not the way it really happens. It's funny to see that because we know that's absurd. That's not the way it happens. When it rains, it's raining on everybody. Whether you think that's good or bad. I mean, it is good for it's good for the land, for the soil, for whatever crops are growing. It can also be very inconvenient for you as you're getting soaked, drenched to the bone. But it doesn't just rain on the just person's crops. God sends his rain to everyone. Verse 46, for if you love those who love you, what reward have you? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? Don't the atheists do the same? Doesn't everybody do that? How are you different? A Christian is supposed to be different. And if you greet your brethren only, what do you more than others? Do not even tax collectors do so? I mean, at that time, tax collectors were considered the worst of the worst. Kinda still is true today. But back then it was even worse because the tax collectors were Jews who were collaborators with the Roman government, and they would cheat their own fellow countrymen. They'd take more taxes than even Rome wanted, and therefore they got rich off of it. But God could save them too. The person this book was named after, whose name I share, Matthew, was a tax collector when Jesus called him. Verse 48, therefore you shall be perfect just as your Father in heaven is perfect. And perfect means mature or complete. If it's absolute perfection, we can't do it. We do strive for it. And just think about these few verses, or this whole chapter alone. We've got a long way to go to be like Jesus. But it's worth it. I hope that this has benefited you, and hope you apply this to your life. Till next time, God bless.